into your pride. Show me your greatness.
Hey, so today I'm here to argue what the best trap of this format is. It's Time Space Trap Hole. End of video. Pretty much. So let me go into some details. The reason I think that Time Space Trap Hole is currently the best standalone trap in the game is because of pretty much the decks we're dealing with, right? We haven't really been in a format where traps have sort of been kind of staple and commonplace. Like, you get like Emptiness as a bit of a staple, potentially Warning, but even then that's sort of had its bad times like recently. I think that now currently we're in a stage where if your deck does play traps, unless you're playing like a heavy combo based deck, like maybe something like Madoch, I probably wouldn't play any traps. But in this format, I think that Time Space Trap Hole is a really good shout. So the reason is because I think that it's the best because of the fact that it hits the best decks currently. Now, arguably things like Granhorn is better against Pendulum decks, of course. Like Warning itself is sort of good against Cosmo. But I think like overall, I do prefer Time Space Trap Hole as the best standalone trap currently. When this thing first came out, it was sort of kind of overlooked because it wasn't really a heavy kind of extra deck format. But I think it's really good now because one of the biggest issues you're going to be having is against Cosmo. So let's kind of like take this deck by deck. I want to talk about Cosmo and then Pendulum variants. So against Cosmo, you sort of have an issue dealing with their big ships. A lot of decks can like have tough times dealing with the spaceships, you know, because they can't be targeted. And if you do destroy them, they're just going to float into another ship that can be targeted, right? So one of the good things about this trap is that they summon their pilot, so they banish their pilot. They special out like Dark Destroyer, right? Yeah, they'll get a pop, but for 1,000 life points, you shuffle it away. So it means that they can't float it and they can't get it back with Cosmo Town. I think that's really good. I think that's amazing. That deals with the biggest problem of the ships, which is like, you know, getting them off the board without triggering their effects or making them float. The issue, however, is the fact that yes, it doesn't deal with established boards. I mean, that's always going to be the problems with a trap based with a trap based around summons, right? It doesn't really deal with established boards, which is fair enough. I mean, no card is perfect, but I can't think of any trap this format which I would say overall is like probably the best. You know what I mean? So your opponent tries to like pendulum summon and they bring out like a bunch of Mage Spectre guys and stuff, and you just put them all back into the main deck. You know, issue with something like TT, for example, right? TT is really horrible. Like, I wouldn't, like, if Torrential Tribute was at free, I honestly wouldn't play any. Like, it's just not the format for it. Like, you TT a Pendulum deck, okay, cool. They'll just bring him back next turn. You TT Cosmos, cool. They'll float into another thing. So the issue here is like trying to stop your opponent from special summoning like a bunch, so while making sure that you get the special summons off the board. And even banishing is arguably not that good. Like, Bottomless is really strong against Pendulum decks, but Bottomless is kind of bad against Cosmo because they can just get it back with Cosmo Town. So I think that if you're in a position currently where you want to play some traps in your deck and you just don't know what to play, I would suggest that Time Space Trap Hole is definitely the best one you can run this format. Now, it's not broken. It does have many drawbacks. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks of the deck. So the first drawback is with any back row deck, this format. When you're playing against Magician variants, I know this is not current, but I'm in Europe, so we've got a big YCS coming up, and that's going to be the first event where the Magicians are legal. Now, for those of you who've been practicing Magicians, you know that you've got your Dragon Pit, which pops back row, right? So you discard a Pendulum monster and you pop a back row. You're going to pop Time Space Trap Hole, right? So obviously, big problem with that. If you pendulum summon Avion, well, Avion's going to negate the time space trap hole, right? So it's not ideal in every situation, definitely, right? But I think it's a pretty good trap. Like a clutch time space for like even just like 3, maybe even like 2 monsters from a pendulum summon. Like you can really turn the game in your favor. Against Cosmo, you know, time spacing like Forerunner or something, like again that can really shift the game in your favor. So to conclude, I pretty much just want to tell you that this format, if you're struggling to find a super good trap that you just want to play in your deck and you think it'll be good all across the board, I'd say time space, because we're going back into a format where either A, everything uses an extra deck, so pendulums, Madolch, friggin' any deck that is like not Cosmo uses an extra deck. But on the plus side, even against Cosmo, this card's really good because you're spinning problem cards like big ships. Okay, it doesn't deal with established boards. It's vulnerable to Dragon Pit. But if you must play traps, this format, I can't think of what's better. Like, apart from anti-spell fragrance maybe, but like that's not good against Cosmo. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much my concluding thought, is the fact that if you want to TLDR this video, pretty much just telling you that if you do want to play trap this format, play time space trap hole. It's really good. I'd say it's pretty much on the level of like breakthrough skill during hat. For those of you who remember playing a hat format, you know, having to break through on your turn in your graveyard against an honor arc or a moral tack, stuff like that. I'd say we're about on that level currently. I'd say I'd kind of compare them and say that's how sort of good they are in terms of their potency. So yeah, go pick up some time space trap holes for yourself, because they're not going to be good forever. Pepe's coming next month. Be scared. Thanks again for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? If not, whatever. Blah blah blah. And I'll see you next time.